Christmas Eve. We've got Dr. Joel Conn here from the Pismo Beach Veterinary Clinic, and he's brought us a friend here that that's been here before, I guess, a few years ago.
He has,
Tell us all about him.
So this is kind of a nice holiday story. Frank came on the show with me the very first time that I came here.
No kidding, very
He's
first
not
time.
facing the camera. January of 2010, and he was potentially part of a bit of a tragic story. He was brought in by his owners, basically to be put to sleep. And you know, the complaint was he wasn't eating, he was vomiting, he was having all these issues, and he actually in the last year had gone suddenly blind. And so we took him back, we assessed him, and this is a dog that practically ate my hand when I offered him a treat. He was wagging his tail and just looked really bright, and so we couldn't do it. And so we talked the owners into surrendering him to us at the clinic, and we found him a home. So we brought him on the news to try to talk about his story and find him some great owners. And about 3 months after we took him on, we found him the perfect home. And so I just thought we'd have a little bit of follow-up with him. He's a little grayer than he was when he was on in January of 2010. But he's a great story because he is blind. He had a retinal condition that occurred very suddenly. It's a non-painful condition where the retinas in the back of the eye fail, essentially, and he went suddenly blind at a later age. And so it brings up an important point about blind pets, and that blind pets can actually live very normal, happy, healthy lives. This guy now lives with several other dogs on some property, and he rules the roost, and these are all big dogs, and he's in charge. And it's just he's an absolutely amazing character.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I mean, so if a pet does unfortunately suffer from blindness, everything,
you know,
it doesn't ultimately mean a death sentence, I guess.
It doesn't at all. And, you know, in fact, many of the cases where we come across a blind pet, sometimes the owners don't know. You know, they bring in the animal for something else, and we realize on exam that the pet's blind because they've compensated so well with their other senses.
Oh, wow.
And Frank is a good example of that. You know, one of my favorite stories about him, dachshunds are known for being able to burrow. And my wife and I fostered him for about 3 months during this process. And we left just an old t-shirt on the ground that was on its way to the laundry, you know, barely the size of him. And suddenly we couldn't find Frank. He disappeared, and he'd burrowed under this little tiny t-shirt. A blind dog had managed to completely cover himself up. I mean, they just get around so well. Some of the things that you can do, you know, with blind dogs, just like with people, routine is important. So having a familiar landmarks in the house, not moving the furniture around too much so that they're used to it, and making sure they have a home base like a bed or somewhere that's safe for them. You can also take advantage of their other senses. So make sure you use voice commands for common things like eating, going to the bathroom. You can also attach a little bell to yourself so that they don't become disoriented, especially if they become suddenly blind, so they can find you. Also, using scents is a good thing. You can put those around areas that might be dangerous, like the top of a staircase or something like that, to try to teach them to avoid those areas. So lots of things you can do, but they do great, and he's a great example of that. And we're just a wonderful story.
Yeah, we're happy to see him again, and we appreciate Dr. Joel Conn here from the Pismo Beach Veterinary Clinic for stopping by here on this Christmas Eve. If you have any questions for him, ask the vet at KCOY.com.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you. All right, we'll be right back.